The celestial bazaar floated in the empty space between 12 star systems. It was a massive station, bigger than most cities on Earth. Ships from 100 different worlds docked at its ports every day. Traders, diplomats, and travelers moved through its wide corridors. It was neutral ground. No wars were fought here. No blood was spilled. At least, that was the rule. Kang Tae walked through the main corridor with his hands in his pockets. He was 53 years old, with gray hair at his temples and calm brown eyes. He wore simple clothes, nothing fancy. He looked like someone's tired uncle, not a man who had spent 20 years in special forces. That was exactly how he liked it. Behind him walked his younger sister. Yuna, she was 41, with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. She carried a medical bag over her shoulder. She had been a combat medic for 15 years before she retired. Now, she traveled with her brother. Keeping him alive and keeping him humble, they were escorting a group of human merchants. The merchants were here to negotiate a trade deal with the Orion Empire. It was important work. Humanity was still new to the galaxy. First contact had happened only 50 years ago. Most alien species still thought of humans as primitive creatures from a small blue planet, weak, fragile, not worth much attention. The merchants were nervous. They talked too much and laughed too loudly. Tae understood. He had seen what the Orion could do. They were a warrior race, tall and powerful, with silver blue skin and 4 arms. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They respected only strength. The reception hall was enormous. Crystal chandeliers floated in the air without any wires. Tables were covered with food from 100 planets. Aliens of every shape and size filled the room. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had no solid form at all, and then the Orion arrived. Princess Vela walked into the hall like she owned it. Maybe she did. She was the youngest daughter of the Orion Emperor, and she was beautiful in the way a sword is beautiful. Her silver blue skin glowed under the lights. Her forearms were decorated with golden rings. She stood almost 7 feet tall. She moved with the confidence of someone who had never lost a fight because she hadn't. Vela was famous across the galaxy. She had fought over 300 duels and won every single one. Most of her opponents had died. The ones who survived wished they hadn't. Behind her walked her older brother, Lord Kale. He was taller than Vela, but quieter. He watched everything with careful eyes. He was the diplomat. She was the weapon. The human merchants bowed deeply when Vela approached. She barely looked at them. Her eyes moved across the room, searching for something interesting. Something worth her time. Then she saw the human security team. Tae stood near the wall with Yuna beside him. He was watching the room, noting the exits, counting the guards. Standard procedure. He didn't expect trouble, Vela laughed. It was a cold sound, like ice cracking. She walked toward him, and the crowd parted to let her through. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Yuna tensed. Her hand moved toward the weapon hidden under her jacket. Tae touched her arm gently. Wait, Vela stopped in front of them. She was so tall that Tae had to look up to meet her eyes. 4 arms, natural armor under her skin, reflexes 3 times faster than any human. She could kill him in seconds, and they both knew it. She looked him up and down like he was a piece of furniture. These are the famous human warriors? She said loudly so everyone could hear. They look like sick children. Some aliens laughed. Others watched in silence. Yuna's jaw tightened. We're not here to fight, she said. We're here to protect our people, Vela smiled. Protect them. You can barely protect yourselves. Look at you, soft skin. Slow reflexes. You live, what, 80 years? 90? My grandfather's pet lived longer than that. More laughter. The lead merchant stepped forward, his face red with embarrassment. Your Highness, please. We are here for peaceful negotiations. There is no need for conflict. Vela ignored him. She was still looking at Tae. He hadn't moved. Hadn't spoken. His face showed nothing that annoyed her. You, she said, pointing at him. You are their leader? Tae nodded once. Do you speak? Or are humans as stupid as they are weak? I speak when I have something to say, Tay replied. His voice was calm and quiet. Vela's eyes narrowed. She wasn't used to calm. She was used to fear. Every species feared her. Every warrior trembled when she looked at them. But this human just stood there like he was waiting for a bus. I am bored, Vela announced to the room. This station is dull. These negotiations are dull. But perhaps we can find some entertainment. She raised her voice so everyone could hear. I challenge this human to a duel. A sparring match in the arena. Full broadcast across the station. Let the galaxy see what humanity truly is. Now the room went silent. Lord Kale stepped forward. Sister, this is unnecessary. The humans are our guests. They are not my guests, Vela said. They are my entertainment. She looked at Tay again. What do you say, human? Do you accept? Or will you run back to your little planet with your tail between your legs? The lead merchant grabbed Tay's arm. Please, he whispered desperately. Don't accept. If you lose, it will humiliate humanity. We'll lose the trade deal. We'll lose everything. Tay gently removed the man's hand. He looked at Vela, really looked at her. He saw the arrogance, the pride, the absolute certainty that she was the most dangerous thing in any room she entered. He had seen that look before. Many times, usually on the faces of men who ended up dead. If I accept, Tay said slowly. What are the terms? Vela grinned. She had him. First blood. Or until one of us cannot continue. No killing unless you force my hand. She paused. I will even give you a handicap. I will use only 2 of my arms. That should make it fair. Yes. Yuna stepped closer to her brother. Tay, she said quietly. You don't have to do this. He didn't look at her. He was still watching Vela. It won't last a minute, human, Vela said. But at least it will be amusing. Tay was quiet for a long moment. The whole room waited. Then he smiled. It was a small smile, barely there. But Yuna saw it, and her worry turned into something else. Something like pity. Not for her brother. For the princess. I accept, Tay said. Vela laughed and clapped 2 of her hands together. Wonderful. The arena, tomorrow at noon. Try not to die of fear before then. She turned and walked away, her brother following with a troubled expression. The room exploded with noise. Aliens were already placing bets. The odds were 200 to 1 against the human. Yuna grabbed Tay's arm. What are you doing? She's killed hundreds of people. Tay watched Vela leave. His eyes were calm, but something cold moved behind them. She's killed hundreds of people who fought like she expected them to fight, he said quietly. I won't. He turned and walked toward the exit. Behind him, as the galaxy prepared to watch a human die, they had no idea what was coming. The Grand Combat Arena was built into the heart of the Celestial Bazaar. It was a massive circular structure with floating platforms where spectators could watch from every angle. Energy shields protected the crowd from stray weapons. Giant screens floated in the air, ready to broadcast every moment to millions of viewers across the galaxy. By noon, every seat was full. Aliens of every species had come to watch. Some wanted to see a good fight. Most wanted to see a human die. Betting stations were overloaded with transactions. The odds against the human had risen 2 to 50-2-1 in the preparation chamber beneath the arena. Yuna helped Tay get ready. The room was cold and gray. A single light hung from the ceiling. Tay wore light combat gear, flexible pants, a simple shirt, soft boots that would let him move quickly. No armor, no protection. Yuna had argued with him about this for an hour. She lost. She checked his vital signs one more time. His heart rate was slow and steady. His blood pressure was normal. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't afraid. After 30 years of knowing him, this still surprised her. She handed him a metal staff. It was about 5 feet long, simple and undecorated. No energy blade. No hidden weapons. Just metal. She looked at him with worried eyes. The Oron have forearms. Natural armor under their skin? Reflexes 3 times faster than ours. And you're going in there with a stick. Tay took the staff and felt its weight. It's a good stick. Yuna didn't laugh. This isn't a joke, Tay. She's the best warrior of her generation. She's been fighting for longer than humans have been in space. His eyes softened for just a moment. I know what she is, but she doesn't know what I am. That's the only advantage I need. A bell rang. It was time to walk toward the arena entrance. Yuna grabbed his arm one last time. Come back alive, she said. Mom will kill me if you don't. Tay smiled. Mom's been dead for 20 years. She'll find a way. He laughed softly, then walked through the door into the light. The crowd roared when Princess Vela entered from the other side of the arena. She wore ceremonial battle armor that gleamed like liquid silver. In 2 of her hands, she carried twin energy blades. They hummed with power, glowing bright blue. The other 2 arms were bare, as she had promised. She raised her weapons to the crowd, and they cheered louder. She was their champion, their princess, their perfect warrior. Then Tay walked in. The crowd went quiet for a moment. Then they laughed. He looked so small compared to her, so ordinary. He carried no blade, no gun, no armor, just a metal stick. He walked to the center of the arena like he was taking a morning stroll in the royal observation box. Lord Kale watched with careful eyes. He didn't laugh. Something about the human bothered him. He had seen warriors from many species. The nervous ones talked too much. The arrogant ones moved too much. But this human was completely still, completely calm. Kale had seen that kind of stillness before, only in the most dangerous warriors, the ones who had killed so many times that death meant nothing to them. He leaned forward in his seat. The arena referee, a tall alien with scales and 6 eyes, announced the rules. First blood or surrender. No killing unless necessary. The fight would end when one fighter could not continue. Vela smiled at Tay across the arena. Any last words, human? A prayer to whatever gods your species believes in. Tay rolled his shoulders and settled into a relaxed stance. I don't pray. I prepare. Vela laughed. Prepare for what? Defeat? Death? For you. The referee raised his hand. The crowd held its breath. The hand dropped. The fight began. Vela moved like lightning. She crossed the arena in less than a second, her twin blades cutting through the air. The first strike aimed for Tay's head. The second, for his chest. She was fast. Impossibly fast. But Tay wasn't there. He stepped to the side at the last possible moment. The blades passed through empty air. Vela spun and attacked again, all her speed and power focused on destroying this weak human. He dodged again, and again, and again. The crowd went quiet. Vela's attacks were beautiful. Perfect combinations passed down through generations of Iran warriors. Each strike should have killed him. Each movement should have ended the fight. But the human kept moving. He didn't block. He didn't fight back. He just wasn't where her blades landed. 10 seconds passed. 20. 30. 1 minute. Vela stopped attacking. She was breathing harder now. Not tired, but confused. She stared at the human like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. You should be dead, she said. Tay shifted his weight slightly. You keep saying what should happen. Maybe you should pay attention to what is happening. She screamed and attacked again. Faster this time. More aggressive. Her blades were a blur of light and death. Tay moved through her attacks like water flowing around rocks. He never stopped moving. Never stayed in one place. His staff touched her blades sometimes, deflecting them just enough to create space. In the royal box, Kale stood up. His hands gripped the railing. He finally understood what he was seeing. The human wasn't just dodging. He was learning. Every attack Vela made taught the human something. Her timing, her patterns, her habits, the way she shifted her weight before a thrust, the way her shoulder tensed before a slash. He was reading her like a book, and with every page he turned, he got closer to the ending. 2 minutes passed. The crowd was completely silent now. This wasn't supposed to happen. No one survived against Princess Vela for 2 minutes. No one. Vela felt something she had never felt in combat before. It was cold and sharp, like a knife pressed against her spine. It was fear. She looked at the human's eyes and saw nothing there. No anger. No fear. No pride. Just calm observation. Like a scientist studying an interesting specimen. Like a predator watching prey, she realized. With sudden horror that she had made a terrible mistake. She had walked into this arena thinking she was the hunter. She was wrong. The human hadn't been running. He hadn't been surviving. He had been waiting. Watching. Learning everything about her while showing her nothing about himself. And now, as the 3rd minute began, she saw his stance change for the first time. His weight shifted forward. His grip on the staff tightened. He was done learning. He was ready to teach. Vela raised her blades. And for the first time in 300 duels, she didn't know if she would survive. The crowd leaned forward. The screen zoomed in on the two fighters. Across the galaxy, millions of viewers held their breath. The human smiled, and then he moved. Tay moved like nothing Vela had ever seen before. One moment he was standing still. The next moment he was inside her guard, past her blades, so close she could smell him. His staff struck 3 times before she could react. The first hit landed under her. Primary shoulder, exactly where the nerve cluster connected to her upper arms. Her right arms went numb instantly. The second hit struck behind her knee. The joint buckled and she stumbled. The third hit touched the base of her neck. Light but precise. Her entire body seized for half a second. Her blades fell from her fingers and clattered on the arena floor. Then Tay stepped back. Vela collapsed to one knee. Her arms hung uselessly at her sides. She tried to move them, tried to command her body to obey, but nothing worked. Whatever he had done it with surgical precision. The arena was silent. Absolutely silent. 10,000 aliens stared in disbelief. The screens showed replays of the attack in slow motion, and even then, it was hard to follow. 3 strikes. Less than 1 second. And the greatest warrior of the Oron Empire was on her knees. In the royal box, Lord Kale sat down heavily. His face was pale. He understood now why the elder races had warned them about humans. He understood why some species refused to fight them at all. Humans didn't win by being stronger. They won by being smarter. They studied their enemies. They found weaknesses. They exploited them without mercy. This human had spent the entire fight learning Vela's body. Her movements. Her balance points. Her anatomy. And then he had taken her apart in 3 strikes. On the arena floor, Vela struggled to breathe. The paralysis was fading slowly, feeling returning to her limbs like fire spreading through her veins. She looked up at the human standing over her. He wasn't smiling anymore. His face was calm, patient. He was waiting for her. "How?" she whispered. Her voice was rough with shock. "How did you do that?" Tay held his staff loosely at his side. "Your species has armor under the skin. But armor has joints. Joints have nerves. Nerves can be disrupted. It's simple biology." "Simple?" Vela laughed bitterly. "You studied Oron anatomy just for this fight." "No, I studied it 20 years ago. When I first heard about your species," Tay tilted his head slightly, "I study every species I might have to fight. It's how humans survive." Vela's arms were starting to work again. She flexed her fingers, feeling the pins and needles of returning sensation. She could stand now. She could fight, but for the first time in her life, she wasn't sure she wanted to. She looked at this human, really looked at him. He was old by human standards. Gray hair, lines on his face. He should have been weak. He should have been slow. But he moved like something ancient and deadly, like a predator that had evolved beyond the need for claws or teeth. "You were never afraid," she said. "It wasn't a question. No, why not? You knew what I was." "What I've done?" Tay was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft, almost kind. You have killed 300 opponents in formal duels. Controlled environments, rules and referees. Opponents who fought the way you expected them to fight. He paused. I spent 20 years fighting in wars where there were no rules, no referees, where the enemy would do anything to kill me, and I had to do anything to survive. He looked at her with something that might have been respect, or might have been pity. You are a warrior, princess. A good one. But you have never been in a real fight. You have never faced an enemy who could actually kill you. That makes you dangerous. But it also makes you vulnerable. Bella stood slowly. Her legs were unsteady, but her pride forced her upright. She looked at her blades on the ground, then back at the human. I could pick up my weapons. I could continue the fight. Would you stop me? Tay shook his head. No. The choice is yours. But if you pick up those blades, I won't just disable you this time. I'll end the fight permanently. It wasn't a threat. It was a simple statement of fact. As honest as arithmetic. Vela looked into his eyes and saw the truth there. He would kill her. Not because he wanted to. Not because he hated her. But because that was what survivors did. They eliminated threats. She had laughed at humans. Called them weak. Called them primitive. But standing here now, defeated and humiliated, she understood the terrible truth. Humans weren't weak. They had just learned to hide their strength. They had survived on a death world, fighting everything, including each other. They had turned murder into an art and survival into a religion. Every generation passed down the knowledge of how to kill more efficiently. This old man with gray hair and a metal stick was the product of millions of years of evolution. A perfect predator wearing the face of prey. Vela made her choice. She stepped back from her blades. She raised her hands, palms open. The universal sign of surrender. The crowd gasped. Princess Vela, the undefeated champion, had surrendered. To a human, Tay lowered his staff. He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. Made the right choice, he said quietly, so only she could hear. Vela's jaw tightened. I don't need your approval, human. No, but you needed to lose. Now you can finally learn. Before she could respond, the arena erupted with noise. Some aliens were cheering. Some were shouting in anger. The screens showed the odds collapsing as betting stations struggled to process what had happened. In the sidelines, Una released a breath she had been holding for 5 minutes. Her hands were shaking. She watched her brother walk toward her, still calm, still quiet. He looked tired. Not from the fight. From everything before it. Everything that had made him what he was. She met him at the arena entrance and said nothing. Just put her hand on his arm. Tay nodded. He understood. Behind them, Princess Vela stood alone in the arena, surrounded by thousands of spectators, and realized that everything she believed about strength had been wrong. The human had taught her that. Lesson in less than 5 minutes. She wondered what else she didn't know. The royal observation chamber was quiet. Lord Kale sat in a large chair, his 4 hands folded in his lap. He had sent away all the servants. He wanted privacy for this conversation. Tay stood near the window, looking out at the stars. Una sat in a corner, watching everything with sharp eyes. She didn't trust the Oron, even after the fight. Maybe especially after the fight. Kale had requested this meeting immediately after the duel. He had questions. The kind of questions that couldn't be asked in public. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Kale broke the silence. I need to understand something, he said. His voice was calm, but there was something beneath it. Something like fear. My sister has trained since she was a child. She has fought the best warriors from a dozen species. She has never lost. Tay didn't turn from the window? I know. And you defeated her in minutes. With a metal stick? Kale paused. How is that possible? Now, Tay turned. His face was calm, but his eyes were old. Older than his body. Old like someone who had seen too much death. Your sister is the best warrior of her generation, Tay said. I believe that. But she learned to fight in arenas. Against opponents who followed rules, against enemies who fought the way she expected. He walked slowly toward Kale, his footsteps silent on the marble floor. I learned to fight in jungles, in mountains, in cities that were burning, against enemies who used children as shields, against men who would crawl through mud for 3 days just to cut my throat while I slept. He stopped a few feet from Kale, close enough to touch. Your sister fights to win duels. I fight to survive. That's the difference. Kale was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked the question that had been burning in his mind since the fight ended. If he had wanted to kill her, how long would it have taken? Tay didn't hesitate. 40 seconds. Maybe less. Kale closed his eyes. His hands gripped the arms of his chair. I see, he said softly. Yuna spoke from her corner. You should be glad he didn't want to kill her. My brother doesn't enjoy hurting people, but he's very good at it. Kale opened his eyes and looked at her. And you? What are you good at? Yuna smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. I'm good at putting people back together after he takes them apart. I've had a lot of practice. The room was silent again. Outside, ships moved through the darkness between stars. Inside, 3 people from different worlds tried to understand each other. Finally, Kale stood. He walked to a cabinet and poured 3 glasses of something amber and glowing. He offered one to Tay, one to Yuna. After a moment, they accepted. The elder races warned us about humanity, Kale said. He stared at his glass like it held answers. When your species first made contact with the galaxy, the old empires told us to be careful. They said humans were dangerous. We laughed at them. He drank deeply. We saw your short lives and thought you were weak. We saw your soft bodies and thought you were fragile. We saw your small territory and thought you were insignificant. He looked at Tay with something like wonder. We never thought to ask why you were still alive. Your planet is a death world. The gravity is heavy. The weather is violent. The animals are predators. And yet you survived. You thrived. You conquered your entire world before you even reached the stars. Tay sipped his drink. It burned pleasantly going down. We didn't just survive our planet, he said. We survived each other. That was the hard part. Kale nodded slowly. Yes, I think I understand now. Your species spent thousands of years fighting itself, learning to kill more efficiently, developing new weapons, new strategies, new ways to destroy. War is humanity's greatest teacher, Tay said. We hate it. We fear it. But we're very, very good at it. Yuna set down her glass. Every generation of humans learns from the one before. We pass down knowledge of medicine, of science, of art, but we also pass down knowledge of combat. How to fight. How to win. How to survive when everything is trying to kill you. She looked at Kale directly. Your sister has lived for 200 years. She's had time to master her weapons, her body, her techniques, but she's only fought a few hundred times. She paused. My brother has been in combat almost every day for 30 years. That's more than 10,000 fights. Every single one taught him something. Every injury, every near death, every mistake became a lesson. Kale set down his empty glass, and that's why he won. That's why he was never going to lose, Yuna corrected. The door opened. Princess Vela walked in. She had changed out of her armor. She wore simple clothes now. Her 4 arms hung at her sides. She looked smaller somehow. Less like a weapon and more like a person. She stopped when she saw Tay for a moment. Neither of them spoke. Then Vela did something that shocked everyone in the room. She bowed deeply. The bow of a student to a teacher. I was arrogant, she said. I mocked you. I insulted your species. I was wrong. Tay bowed back, equal to equal. You were honest? You believed what you said. That's not a crime, but it was a mistake. Vela straightened. I want to learn. I want to understand how you did what you did. Not just the techniques, the philosophy, the mindset. Tay studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Come to Earth," he said. "See where humanity learned to fight. See the mountains where my ancestors held back invaders for centuries. See the hospitals where we learned to heal what we broke. See the memorials where we remember the cost of war." Vela's eyes widened. "You would show me this? You lost today, but you learned from it. That's the most human thing you could have done." Tay almost smiled. "Maybe there's hope for you after all." Lord Kale watched this exchange with thoughtful eyes. He had come to this meeting hoping to understand humanity's weakness. Instead, he had discovered their strength, and it terrified him. 3 days had passed since the duel. The Celestial Bazaar was still buzzing with the news. Every screen showed replays of the fight. Every conversation mentioned the human who had defeated Princess Vela. In bars and trading posts across 12 star systems, people talked about what it meant. The footage spread across the galaxy like fire. Military academies studied it frame by frame. Diplomats watched it in quiet rooms and reconsidered their strategies. Species that had ignored humanity suddenly paid attention. In one short fight, the galaxy's view of humans had changed forever. The trade negotiations were completed on the second day. The Oron Empire agreed to terms that were far more favorable than anyone had expected. The human merchants couldn't believe their luck. They didn't understand that it wasn't luck at all. Lord Kale had made sure the deal went through. He had seen what humans could do. He didn't want them as enemies. He wanted them as allies. Or at least, he wanted to keep them neutral until he understood them better. On the morning of the third day, Tay sat alone in a small observation room. The walls were made of transparent material, showing the endless darkness of space. Stars burned in the distance like scattered diamonds. He was tired, not from the fight. The fight had been easy. He was tired from everything else. From the memories that wouldn't leave him alone, from the weight of all the people he had killed to become what he was. Yuna found him there. She sat down beside him without speaking. She knew her brother better than anyone. She knew when he needed silence. After a while, Tay spoke. "Do you ever regret it?" "Regret what?" "Following me. Leaving Earth. Spending your life patching up the damage I cause." Yuna laughed softly. "You didn't force me to come. I chose this. Just like I chose to become a medic. Just like I chose to stay with you after you retired." She looked at him with warm eyes. "You're my brother, Tay. You're the only family I have left." "Where else would I be?" Tay nodded slowly. He didn't smile, but something in his face softened. "The princess wants to come to Earth," he said. "She wants to learn from us." "I know." I heard Yuna paused. "Do you think she's ready?" "No, but that's why she needs to go. She's been ready for everything her whole life. She's never had to struggle, never had to fail and get back up. Earth will teach her what the arena never could." The door opened behind them. Princess Vela walked in slowly. She had asked permission to join them. Tay had agreed. She sat down across from them, her forearms folded awkwardly. She looked uncomfortable, uncertain. Nothing like the proud warrior who had challenged TE 3 days ago. "I've been thinking about what you said," Vela began. "About how humans learn to fight by fighting each other. It seems wasteful, destructive." Tay nodded. "It is. Then why do you do it?" "Because we have no choice." Tay turned to look at her. "Humans live short lives. We don't have centuries to master a skill. We don't have natural weapons or armor. We can't fly or breathe underwater or see in the dark. The universe gave us nothing except our brains and our hands." He held up his own hand, scarred and weathered. "So we learned to use what we had. We made tools, weapons, strategies, and we tested them against each other because there was no one else to test them against. Every war made us stronger. Every defeat taught us something new." Bella listened in silence. "When we finally reached the stars," Tay continued, "we brought all of that with us. Millions of years of evolution, thousands of years of warfare, centuries of learning how to kill efficiently and survive impossible situations." He lowered his hand. "You asked why I wasn't afraid of you. The answer is simple. I've fought things more dangerous than an Oron princess. I've fought other humans. Vela was quiet for a long time. Then she asked, "What was the worst fight you ever had?" Tay's eyes went distant. Yuna looked away. "I spent 6 months in a jungle once," Tay said softly. "Enemy territory. My team was hunted every day. We had no supplies, no support. We ate insects and drank rainwater. We slept in shifts because closing your eyes meant death." He paused. "By the end, there were only 2 of us left. Out of 12? We walked out of that jungle with nothing but the clothes on our backs and the knowledge that we had survived something that should have killed us." And Vela tried to imagine it. She couldn't. Her worst battles had been in clean arenas with referees and rules. She had never been hungry, never been hunted, never watched her friends die one by one. "I'm sorry," she said. It was all she could say. Tay shook his head. "Don't be sorry. That jungle made me who I am. Without it, I would have died in that arena. Instead, you did." Vela almost smiled. "I didn't die. A part of you did. The part that thought you were invincible. That part is dead now." Tay looked at her with something like kindness, but something better can grow in its place. Something stronger. The observation room was quiet. Stars burned in the darkness. Somewhere far away, the human homeworld waited. Vela made her decision. "I will come to Earth," she said. "I will learn what you have to teach. And maybe someday I'll understand what it truly means to survive." Tay stood. He offered her his hand, a human gesture she had seen but never received. She took it. In that moment, something changed. Not just between 2 people, but between 2 species. The Oron had seen humanity as weak. Now they were beginning to see the truth. Humans weren't the strongest species in the galaxy. They weren't the fastest or the smartest or the longest lived, but they were survivors. They had crawled out of the mud, survived their own death world, and spread across the stars. And anyone who underestimated them would learn the same lesson Vela had learned, the hard way. Later that night, Yuna and Tay sat alone in their quarters. Their ship would leave in the morning. Earth was a long journey away. Yuna looked at her brother. "Do you think she'll make it?" "The princess." Tay considered the question. "Maybe she has potential. More importantly, she has the one thing most warriors lack." "What's that?" "She knows she can lose." Tay leaned back in his chair. "That's the first step to becoming truly dangerous," Yuna laughed. "Is that the secret? Losing?" Tay shook his head slowly. His eyes were distant, looking at memories only he could see. "No," he said quietly. "The secret is surviving the loss, getting back up, learning from it, fighting again." He turned to look at the stars outside their window. "That's what makes us human. We break. We fall. We fail. But we never stop getting back up." Yuna smiled and put her hand on his shoulder. "You should write that down," she said. "It would make a good speech." "I don't make speeches," Tay replied. "I just survive." Outside, the galaxy turned slowly in the darkness. Billions of stars, millions of worlds, countless species, and somewhere among them, humanity was finally being noticed. Not as prey, as predators. The universe would never look at them the same way again.